Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and we've got a lot of fun stuff happening in the coming turns. Really excited to share some of this war with you. Um, yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to see a lot of things. Yeah, we're going to see. Yeah, it's going to be fun. So we cast Raven Feast, we cast Wish, we cast Raven Feast. We are getting attacked by an Ashen Angel. This actually is interesting because this is one of the main risks of these stacks I'm rolling around with. I don't have huge mage commitment, and therefore the commanders that I do have with me are usually really important. Like these guys don't have magic weapons, by the way, and the Ashen Angels, ethereal. Fortunately, this guy himself is a badass and has a magic weapon. I think we got a little unlucky on the RNG. But yeah, having these guys actually be really thick and regenerate so they'll like heal up between assassination attempts is really nice. They are. We'll look at it one more time. They're pretty hard to kill. They're let's take a look. Yeah, this is without gear. You would actually probably, especially leading an important force, you would want to put armor on them, right? They're just such an important kind of like linchpin. But still, 50 hit points with Blood Vengeance, 16 defense, 18 attack. These are, medium end thug stats. And then we have a magic weapon. And actually, the attack on this is 21, so it's very good. And then we gave them bodyguards too. So we gave them bodyguards because we were like worried about this. We also get attacked here by a Earth Elemental. This is the Earth Attack spell, and it's an Earth Elemental remote attack. So we're getting trampled. Normally you would lose this. We're not ethereal or anything. Protection doesn't help that much. We are regenerating, but we're very killy. And this snake staff also does poison, I believe. Yeah, strong poison. Which apparently has gotten through some of the 25 poison resistance. Okay, it's down a size, so it's now size 4. We're size 2 still. So the trample is going to be less effective. Earth attack, by the way, is super hard to survive in a one-on-one if you're not like size 6. But yeah, we did it fine. So that's pretty cool. Also, trample doesn't proc Blood Vengeance, so that doesn't work. But yeah, he'll right back up. So this is probably one of the best assassin spells, especially against like Tomb Kings. You could also do whatchamacallit. Not manifestation. The disease demon one. The name isn't coming to me right now. But yeah, anyway, that one's also like a really common one. That would not do well here. We have probably enough protection. We wouldn't die in a hit or 2 or 3, and we'd kill them in 1 hit. And we have really high defense. Yeah, I think assassinations is a major vulnerability of this strat, especially for like our Sauramancers, sort of, though they're also pretty tough too if we white mage them. So it's a weird thing because on one hand we're very resistant to it, and that like Sauramancers are really hard to assassinate, especially with bodyguards. Tomb Kings are extremely hard to assassinate, especially with bodyguards. But it's also kind of our weakest point. I would have, like, if you were doing, like, if you're hand making assassins and putting items on them, you can definitely kill all these guys with assassins. The remote assassinations are tricky. They're not, I don't think they're strong enough, is basically it. Oh yeah, here's a disease demon. So yeah, we get to see one of these. Well, maybe it gets a Saurmancer or something. Oh, it's going after our little werewolf. Interesting. Yeah, that's gonna work. So these are disease demons. They're going to give you disease, and they have 2 like 14 damage magic attacks. So, we also were mentally attacked by an enemy mage, but because we are very lucky and live a good life, we Yeah, nothing bad happened. Oh, Record of Creation. We found an Iron Cliff. It's been a long time since we found a magic site, so we will happily take that one. We cast Ghost Riders. Oh, we got another... Oh, yeah, there's a few. High Priest was mentally attacked, but we resist. High Priest, these guys are garbage. They're not a good unit, so that's not a problem. We got a Tomb King attacked, but he managed to resist. These guys have pretty good MR, too. Some of this is luck. But these are all... And I think this is Erythia starting the war, because we've been kind of fighting with Arco a little bit. And this is the first cannonade, so I think this is the start of the Erythian War. And Erythia is trying this out, and it's really interesting because I really like the Erythia player a lot. So it's a sub, you know, first of all, I love subs, people who sub into games, y'all are the best. I'm one of those people too, I sub into games, but it's been a short while since I've subbed into one. So that's awesome, but also they're thinking really hard about the matchup and things they can do, and them doing 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another Ashen Angel. This one killed the High Priest of Ctis. But this doesn't matter. Them killing 4, like doing 4 remote assassinations is not like them flailing around randomly. It's like they've thought maybe this is the weakness and we should try to attack. Like maybe this is the weakest link. And I think this actually is the weakest link. It just isn't that weak. I'm not sure what could be done to make this more effective, aside from not doing remote assassinations and making your own. There's not really easy ways to do, like, to make normal assassins. Maybe the most budget is like the unfortunately named Black Servant, and then you put like a black heart on them, and that's going to give them the assassination ability. And then maybe you throw like a lifelong protection on them. Like maybe this could work. I'm not sure what the other gear would be, but like maybe that could work. I'm not sure. But this idea, this line of thinking they're on, I think is the right line of thinking for fighting this build. Now, importantly, this can be countered by me. This is not like, okay, we're going to do this and then we're going to win the whole conflict. Because I'll just make Commander chaff and then assassinations suck again. So this is like totally counterable by me. But I don't really want to make Commander chaff, right? We're poor. You know. Each commander could be like a, not each commander, but, it doesn't take many scouts to equal a high priest, and that's 1 tomb worm per turn. So forcing me into that, even if I'm able to kind of deflect it by doing commander chaff to counter assassins, it still is going to slow me down. Like, it's still going to hurt. It's something I definitely don't want to do. I mean, there's a reason I know and have known that it's a major weakness of this build, or this play style, basically, not really the build, but how I'm playing it right now. But I am not choosing to fix it. It's because unless somebody really forces me to, I don't want to sit there and put like 20 scouts or commanders in armies. Anyway, Ghost Riders we've cast. I think that's this. We are hitting an Erythian force with some Ghost Riders. Okay, this is just an empty province. Here are the Magic Phase attacks. So this is kind of interesting. We haven't seen a lot of Magic Phase by Arco yet, and now we're getting to see one. So this is a Magic Phase Lich that is presumably going to Wind of Death me. I'm not sure what he's targeting, though. This is just garbage I have. And a Sarumancer. This actually is funny. He was intending... Did he have Ring of... Yeah, he had Ring of Returning. He was expecting to get sent home. I don't actually know. Where was this? He must have moved... Where? Why did he do this here? Maybe... I'm not sure. I don't know why... Maybe this was a misclick or something. Or maybe he thought there was an army coming. He would clear this out and then hit the army in the next phase or something. I don't know why he clicked this province. But I think... we can kill this guy. There's no way I get gifted this. Let me tell you what the gift part of this is. There's a mage with a full kit of gear, with no adjacent friendly provinces to retreat to. And, yeah, it has a Ring of Returning, but we can get around that. I guarantee, I don't remember, but I just, you know, I've played with myself. Okay, that sounds weird. You know, I know how I play Dominions, and I know I'm going to do whatever I can to try to kill this Lich. Now, it's possible nothing's in range, right? That's super possible. But I'll go to hell and back to kill that thing. Okay, we've got another Golem attack here. So in this... Oh, we're doing... it looks like we've got a Horror Harmonica here. So normally you would want to Soul Slay these, but apparently we're instead going to settle for killing them with Horrors. Which is not great. This is not the preferable way to do it. Ideally, you want to Soul Slay them. So we're going to give ourselves a C for this. None of these guys have gear either. So this really is not a high-value play by me. Like, yeah, we killed these guys, but we're just sending them back to home with a little bit of horror mark on them. Yeah, this is not a big deal for Arco. He doesn't care at all about this. And then next up, we have a battle in Gifia. Please tell me I'm doing something cool. Okay, this is our Pokemon Golem. And there's a tart here. Oh, goodness. Body Ethereal, Bark Skin, Pillar of Fire. That's not good. Phoenix Pyre. I think Pillar of Fire was off script. I think it was probably supposed to do something else. You'd want to do Personal Regen here. You probably also want to do Resist Magic. Yeah, you definitely want Resist Magic, because right now we're trying to Soul Slay it, and there we go. Got him. Got him, coach. Yeah, so Phoenix Pyre didn't work. You definitely... This is... I think somebody pointed it out in the last video, too. But, with these tarts, you definitely want to put MR gear on them, especially against Ctis, right? Because even like our lowly guys, like our little Death 2 Reborn guys, they can do Disintegrate. So, yeah, they're, you know, it's that's a MR check or die. And you can't really use those guys into Disintegrate, like into Horde of Skeletons spam and Disintegrate. Like 3 Death 2s have a decent chance at killing it. And not with... there is a chance that when they're in Disintegrate range, they're going to choose Dust to Dust. And in fact, I think if you get their MR high enough, they will always choose that. Because they'll be like, oh, that's a hard MR check. We could do guaranteed armor negating damage. Let's do that instead. And if you're regenerating, that's great. So it actually increases the value. Like the fact that they may not cast Disintegrate, if your MR is high enough, actually increases the value of MR. So, yeah. Just Resist Magic here might have stopped it. Now, in this case, it's an Astral guy. You know, our Golem's Astral. So he's probably going to spam Paralyze and Soul Slay, no matter what you do to your MR. So, in this case, I think the Golem would have... I think this tart would have died anyway. Though there's a... Yeah, it would have died anyway. And the other problem is if you do Phoenix Pyre, it's very difficult to die, like, to the other things. You know, like, there's a bunch of Pokemon mages here which could potentially kill it, right? And, you know, Horde of Skeletons could maybe kill it or something eventually. But because it's going to keep respawning, there's a very good chance eventually it's going to die to Soul Slay. So, anyway, anytime you're doing Phoenix Pyre, moral of the story is if there's any way they're going to be doing MR check or die stuff on you, you need higher MR than this. Okay, I think we've covered that. Now, for some more battles. So this is kind of interesting. This is Erythia rolling out with a proper army. They've got some interesting stuff here. So they've got a line of these hoplites, which are pretty solid base troops, but, you know, they're not going to be killing anything, really. They're there to hold the line. They've got sea trolls, and sea trolls are great evocation bait, and so they've got them kind of front and center. Presumably they're in buff range, like they might try to put Body Ethereal on them or something. And then they've got a big pile of mages. They've got a ton of these Ducados, which are really great mages. He's got rings of fire resistance on a lot of them. Flame hats on some of them, too. Yeah, so these guys are going to be very resistant to flames from the sky. Vampire Lord with some fire gear. So this doesn't look super high commitment, but it's actually pretty high commitment. And it's less from the troops, and it's not at all from the troops. The troops are easily replaceable. The mages are pretty high commitment, but even more than that, it's the items on the mages that represent the majority of the commitment here. And this is an army that Erythia knows they can march around and not have to worry about having flames from the sky dropped on them. So that's kind of cool. I should have gym baited this here probably too. Let's see where it is. Yeah, I could have put a gym bait here for sure. So this is a mistake of mine not to do that. And interestingly, this is also the province where he hit with all these assassins on this army, right? So his thinking was actually really interesting. His thinking was, what if I can snipe some of the commanders and upon sniping them, like, what if he got this Tomb King, which he attacked twice, right? If he got this Tomb King here, which he hit twice, then the troops wouldn't be blessed, and he would have fought my worms without a bless on them, and they would have been undisciplined. So they'd been in a big blob to get nailed. You know, once you lose leadership, you're just in a box formation, right? And they're just going to be in a huge box and run forward. And he would have nuked the crap out of them. So this was actually really interesting. It's one of the, I think it's something that makes, in many ways, like a good general, if you look in like military history, is the difference between a lot of times like a mediocre general and a great general is like a great general will look how to take a normal blow, like a strong blow, and turn it into a killing blow. Right? So it's like, okay, he's not just trying to hit these to weaken the army. He's trying to hit these and there's probably also mind hunts here too. He's trying to hit these as part of like a coordinated attack to deal a lethal blow. So, you know, anyway, these are things you know, but I'm just kind of pointing it out. Because this doesn't look that scary. This army would have easily killed. I don't know if it would kill this fully buffed, like a full stack, but it would put a big hurting on it. And yeah, what I think we've also got, it's kind of interesting here. We've got kind of an obvious move, like this army's clearly going to go here, and this army's clearly going to come back and defend. So I think we probably get a battle here next turn. And this is a bigger force than I had here. I can't remember what was here, because he didn't magic phase ping it. We'd have to go back and look at the previous turn. I think I had less than this here. I think this actually is more than had been here. So this will be really interesting to see this final this battle here. Let's go back to the continuing the farm with Ulm. We raid here into a bunch of thralls and die. It's well played. Good job, man. Just sometimes I look at my moves and I'm like, what were you thinking? This is interesting. Unblessed tomb worms coming through. We have nobody here to bless them. And this is a small raiding detachment, but versus a good number of mages. This is kind of like we haven't seen a ton of us doing low commitment stuff with Ctis, but this is a pretty good example. We've got Keeper of the Tombs here. This is one of our cap-only mages. And then we've got just a Holy 2. This should, by the way, be an indication I've been doing life after death conversion. Not that it exactly matters now that people find out. The genie is out of the bottle, as you say. It's not going back in. So they've got some of these crossbowmen, which are quite nice, and they've gone into a nice communion, and they're doing Soul Slay, which actually is a pretty good thing because it doesn't do Blood Vengeance. So if they get enough Soul Slays off, they'll just kill all my guys. The problem is that worms actually have really good magic resistance. So it's kind of hard to casually Soul Slay them. Now, we're not doing anti-magic or anything like that, but... and they have Phoenix Pyre on their guys, too. And Phoenix Pyre isn't great in a lot of circumstances because you can kind of blow up your whole communion. But here they have their guys spread out, so if they die from Phoenix Pyre, they're not going to hit anyone. And it kind of makes sense for the... like, masters with Phoenix Pyre on them can like kill stuff and repeatedly die. Like, it is a way around Blood Vengeance. So this actually is a really cool idea. You can see their MR is also super high. I think what would be really interesting, like, I think first of all Erythia could have won this. But this also just, I don't know what I'm going to fight here. This also just shows how versatile like a small raiding squad like this is. But I think what Erythia could have done, if they forward position these guys, and then I think they want to do Liquefy. I think Liquefy is like the spell. It's area of effect, so it's really good. And area of effect means it's going to hit a whole tile. So it's like, even if it only hits one tile, it's still going to hit like 2 worms. If it hits 3 tiles, it's like 6 soul slays. That's a pretty big deal. So I think Liquefy is like the major thing. The other thing they could do is summon a couple elementals. You know, I think that would just, like, 1 or 2 fire elementals is going to take a long time for these worms to chew through. And I think that's totally worth the investment. The other thing is, especially with the communion, you can do this almost for free, doing a single elemental. You just do like a fire in a jar, right? And if you're communioned up, you can turn that into a big fire elemental. You can also have multiple fires in a jar and multiple mages, and if, as part of a communion, you do like 4 or 5 fire elementals. I think 4 fire elementals would actually kill all this. If not by itself, then certainly with mage support. So, anyway, kind of interesting. That was Umbra, and then we have a battle here in this Golem fort. And I didn't think there was much inside, but apparently there is. There's a Flame Spirit. There's a bunch of these unique Golem mages. So we've got Devas of the Shooting Stars. We've got a Harab Elder that's Earth 5. Got a Water 5 Spent of Water. I'm not sure Calem's really scripting. Oh no, this is pretty much scripted. Yeah, okay, he's got Will of Fates. He's got Mass Regen, it looks like. He's got... Is this Army of Gold? No. Life After Death, Wailing Winds, Wither Bones. Okay, I mean, he's got the things. We got Grip of Winter out too. Rigor Mortis, Darkness. And this is one of the problems, is that we have a hard time getting through walls. And we also kind of, if you recall, like, we don't love being... I mean, we don't mind being hit by mages, but... I don't know. We're basically going to stand here outside the gates while we get hammered by stuff. And they've got Wailing Winds and things, which might retreat my Mage Core. Is this guy retreated? Yeah, like that guy's retreated. This guy's not retreated yet. He's got a morale hat on, which is quite nice. That might actually... Oh, we've got a Tart, though. So the Tart's not going to run, but... Okay, we've broken through the gates, and Rigor Mortis is going to win this fight for us. If these guys were making skeletons, I think it would be game over. Yeah, Rigor Mortis is just oppressive as hell. I really like that it got nerfed in 6. I haven't played it yet. I don't think it's going to be nearly as oppressive in 6 versus players. We got a ton of items. I mean, we basically got paid to take this fight. Look at all these Devas. Flame Spirit, ton of Elders. Yeah, this was just a massive mage commitment from Golem. If he had Relief up, which, you know, maybe this, with the right items, this Woodhinge Druid could have done, there's a chance he would have won this. There was a lot of things we didn't have as part of this strike force. We didn't have Wailing Winds. We didn't have any battlefield clear, like, Firestorm, which is risky to put up anyway with Tomb Worms, but you can kind of put it up on Tomb Worms with Army of Gold if you have a bunch of MR regen, just because the Tomb Worms won't take damage from it. And the reason we would put it up in that case is we want to stop their Skelly spam. But yeah, we didn't have a lot of the things we might need to win like a pitched fort battle. We basically just got by on Rigor Mortis. That was like, we were hard carried by that. The other way we could have won this is the mages eventually just killing themselves by hitting our guys. So, yeah. But yeah, we got a ton of items. Look at this. Robe of the Sea, Boots of the Messenger, Ancient Casket, Dragon Helmet, Scale Mail, Storm in a Bottle, Winged Helmet. I mean, guys, we got 100 gems worth of stuff. I mean, yeah, this was an amazing haul for us. A Bloodthorn, Earth Boots. I mean, holy crap. Okay, so this was a fort we took. This was the one that Arco had been sitting on. They moved off of it because they were worried about us attacking him. And now we've taken it. Okay, so looking at the map, basically this I expect to be raided here, so we're just going to move some wolves in to kind of help with that. We're going to be raiding with wolves in a lot of places. These probably aren't going to work, but it's just going to keep them honest so that they're doing at least like 10 PD commitment. Though a lot of times 6 can even repel this. We're going to be moving the main force here. Basically, we have reinforcements, and so long as we have huge reinforcements, I'm okay losing an army. These are the kind of armies that can get killed. This is in no way, shape, or form an unkillable army, but it's not a pushover either. We've got Army of Gold. We've got, Rigor Mortis and Divine Blessing. In a lot of ways, that's all we really need. But yeah, so that's that. On this front with Arco, we have put this fort under siege, and they have a pretty big army here, so they might ride out and fight us, so that would be kind of interesting. This also is kind of a garbage army. We have multiple Divine Blessing casters, so we're not really worried about that, but we don't have a ton of support. We do have Rush of Strength, which is really nice. It's going to go really well on these worms who kind of can struggle to actually hit things sometimes with get through tough armor. So that's nice, but we don't have things like Darkness. We don't have things like Army of Gold. You can see a lot of these stacks we're rolling with. Like, this looks really scary. We don't have a battle that I can show you, but this looks scary. It's a lot of troops, but it's actually missing a lot of mage support. And I think I think the way to think about this, and right now you're just thinking like, okay, well, you don't need much mage support, and that's partially true, but I actually kind of do. And the only way you as the viewer are going to be convinced by this is to see what happens when I fight with basically something like this, where I don't have enough mage support and I get trounced. And we haven't seen that yet, but we will. We will, I promise. I will show that to you. It's going to happen. But there's a lot of things like this. Now you might say, okay, well, you've told us this, Lucid, that these armies that are missing a lot of key mage support could get picked off. Well, why aren't you just putting the key mage support in there? The reason is, well, like, we're trying. We've got reinforcements coming in here to like shore this up. Like, we got Divine Blessing coming in. We got somebody to cast Rigor Mortis. Over here we've got, this guy coming in to do some casual. Oh, he probably needed, I guess I don't have it. He probably needed like a Ghost Orb or some Death Gems to do Skeletal Legion. Skeletal Legion is great to add, So look how many mages I got here. I got 2 mages in this fort, and they're both going here. Now, there's some more mages here, but these are actually not combat viable, right? Like, these mages, once they turn into soulless, they're pretty much garbage. You really don't want to bring 5 MR mages into combat. So, and they don't heal unless you put a shroud on them. So, these guys are not really combat capable mages. I've got some mages up here at this throne, but we're locking that in. I actually don't have tremendous amount of reserves, and a lot of the reserves I do have are doing things. Like, these guys are moving down here so that they can actually come help, because we don't have enough mage support. So, like, there's not massive mage reserves that I'm not using. There's some, like, these guys are researching. We could move them somewhere. But, like, this strategy that I've used, where I'm basically making a ton of high priests and converting them, we're missing other important things. We don't have huge mage. Like, guys, here's this Sarumancer, the white mage should be moved out. But, like, we don't have massive mage cores that are not in use. So most of them are sort of in our armies. And we've got, like, this one is actually a little bit more proper. We've got Skeletal Legion, we've got Rush of Strength, we've got Darkness, we've got Rigor Mortis, we've got a small Astral Communion with Power of the Spheres and Anti-Magic that's also going to do Soul Slay spam, which will help deal with, like, super combatants. We've got somebody even doing quickening. This is like super luxury for us. Like, holy shit, look at this. We brought like a summoned mage. This is also going to be quickening is a great spell to cast. I wish we had better water access. Then we got Army of Gold, and the guy might also cast Weapons of Sharpness. Like this, we probably should do Earth Power first. I can't really think of... I had a reason for doing Army of Gold first. I can't think what it would be. I think it's probably better to do Earth Power first than save. Anyway. But even still, like, we don't have Weapons of Sharpness on most our guys. We don't have Relief up. There's a lot of buffs that the worms can't take. Like, they can't take Mass Regen. They can't take Will of Fate. So those are things we don't need to bring, or they're not going to add value. But, like, we could definitely use more Retail Banefire. We could use more Quickening Casting. We could use more Weapons of Sharpness. We could use a lot more Retail Banefire, right? We could use, like, a jacked up Tart that can do Firestorm on top of Army of Gold to help clear out enemy chaff or something. Like, there's a bunch of things we could use, right? But we don't have. We just don't have the mage commitment. And that's why, like, in some ways, I think for people in the game, it looks like I'm this unstoppable juggernaut. And in ways I am, but I actually don't have a lot of mages around that can... I mean, like, I would try to put the... If I lose major armies, which I will, I'll put the... we'll find people to bring... But that's one of the reasons I'm not necessarily worried about, like, scouring every single province for... By the way, here's some of our tarts. It's one of the reasons I'm not worried about scouring every province for every single commander and getting them in the field, because if my armies die, I need something to replace them. Now, we've got a fair amount of income, and we are making more Sauromancers, right? So, like, we're making Sauromancers here. A lot of times, these Sauromancers, we're trying to bring them here underwater and convert them to Twiceborn so they're actually usable in our armies. We're not really interested in having the normal Sauromancers be in charge of any important battlefield spells. They just die too easily. Once we turn them into white mages, they're a lot easier to protect. But anyway, that's just some of my kind of rambling and thinking on this. This army, by the way, also pretty tough, but also missing some things. Like the other things we could have is like Fog Warriors, and we could have Howl. There's just so many different things, and we don't really have all of them. But we've got a lot. And, so one of the reasons I can't do it, like I can't bring more mages, is because I don't have them. But what I do have is I have a lot of these medium commitment armies. I have a lot. So for every army they have that could kill one of my medium commitment armies, I probably have 2 more armies. So as long as I don't lose too many big battles in a row, there's a good chance I can just outposition my foe, outraid them, out-fort storm them, out-siege them, even though I don't have the strongest armies on the board. And that's kind of what we're playing around right now. That's where my head is. I want to... My thinking in fighting this coalition right now is I want to see what they can do, what they're going to bring to counter this. And I don't want to see what they're going to bring to counter it when I've got, like, the Rolls Royce rolled out, where I've got 40 mages. Because, guys, I can't lose 40 mages. If I had 40 Sauromancers in a fight and I lost it right now, like, that would be all the Sauromancers on, like, this whole screen, just about. Like, we can't lose that many, right? So I don't want to find out what they're going to do when I've got that much commitment in an army. But I also don't want to throw away 400 or 500 worms. So we're doing this, like, medium commitment approach. We're spreading out over the map. We're taking a bunch of things, and when we see what they're doing to counter us, then we might start thinking, okay, how do we increase our commitment level so that we'll be able to defeat the things they're bringing against us? But yeah, we've also got this fort popped now, and we are going to storm it, so we'll see a cool battle next turn in Marignon. We've got a pretty sizable force, which is going to come down here and raid. This will be fun. And as you see, we don't have Tomb Kings for all these, right? So we're using Lizard Kings to do Divine Blessing. We're reinforcing this. We're going to be storming this fort, even though this is just like a kind of a hatchet job of an army, barely put together. Raiding is continuing. This army, we're actually going to go ahead and move on top of this throne, and we're going to move a reinforcement army with much less on top of this fort. And the idea is I just want to have the speed very, very high here. I don't want this... I want this war with Arco to end as quickly as possible. We could keep this here, but I also am going to prevent him from, like... how do we say? If I get both of these forts locked down, he's going to lose a bunch of initiative. He's going to lose a lot of his ability to respond, because these armies are now trapped. If I'm on top of only one fort, he can choose to consolidate. He can choose to ride out and have a big battle. If I'm on top of both forts, he can't combine these armies anymore. We've stripped away major options from him. So anyway, and we're going to go and, for the same reason, put this fort under siege, just to start limiting mobility. You know, like maybe he could 2-province move here or something, and now he's not going to because we're on top of this fort. These are the kinds of things we're looking to do. Okay, so let's go on to the next turn, turn 83. All right, turn 83. We have cast flames from the sky. Where do we cast? Did we? Oh, we cast. You know what? He baited me into this. I don't think I checked that turn to see that he had fire gems on fire resistant gear on all his mages. This probably killed almost no mages. Did we cast it again? Sometimes though, you just want to send a message. I might. There's a chance that I knew there was fire stuff on the mages, but I also just wanted to like thin out the chaff for potentially a big fight. We're also still getting mind hunted. Here they've killed a Keeper of the Tombs. This is not a big deal. A Keeper of the Tombs. Yeah, that's like, I think that's our cap only guy, right? Let's make sure I got the names right. Yeah, it's just one of these guys. We don't care about that. He's trying to... Now, even though I'm like, okay, I don't care. Wait, where are we? Even though I don't care, he's trying to like immobilize and split up raiding parties, right? Because like if I'm raiding and I need 5 people for the raid to work and he kills 2 of them, then not only does he kill the one guy, but the 4 guys who are left are going to fail potentially in their raid. And I think that's what he's doing. We also caught a Mind Hunter, which is quite nice. We did Ghost Riders. Did we do Record of Creation? I don't see that this turn. Okay, we got hit by... They killed a Sauromancer here. In Phrygia. Where's Phrygia? So this was our army. Oh, God. Okay, so here we're rolling out. Okay, get out your effing popcorn, okay? Erythia has decided to take a fight. First of all, they nuked this, and they killed a Sauromancer ahead. I'm not sure which one in particular they hit. We'll see if some important spells don't go off. But they have a ton. This is probably about 80 mages. I don't see our Tart here. Oh, I think our Tart got sent home. Wait, is that what happened? 1 second. Did our Tart get sent home? Let me see what's happened in Ctis. Yeah, this guy got sent home. So he was supposed to be in this fight, and he actually is a game changer. Like, he's got, Army of Gold, but he has this artifact also, which would also swing the fight. But because I'm a little bitch, I put Ring of Returning on him. And I probably shouldn't have. But we'll see. We can imagine this fight with this guy here. Because if I'd taken the Ring of Returning off... The other thing I could have done, and this is probably what I should have done, is given him enough fire resistance from gear that Flames from the Sky wouldn't send him home. Because basically what he did was he triggered him to get sent home with Flames from the Sky, so he wasn't even in the fight. I think if he was in the fight, if he gets hit, I probably do want him to get sent home, so the Ring of Returning's good. I just kind of got outplayed here. What I could have done is like a Firebrand, because that's going to give 5 fire resistance, which I can forge natively on Ctis. And then like a Flame Hat, and that would have been 10 fire resistance. And then I think with 18 protection, actually would have been a little bit higher with the head protection. I think I'd have been okay. We could have also swapped this out. I think there's some shield to get, like charcoal shield or something, gives fire resistance. We could have done that too, even if we were really thinking about it. But we got like severely outplayed with that maneuver, because this fight is now going to take place without that guy. So we're not going to have Army of Gold, but we'll see if we think that even matters. The Arc, I'm sure, would have mattered. But I don't know if the Arc would have been sufficient to swing the fight. Okay, so the first round of spells are going off. We've got Rigor Mortis up. We've got Relief up on their side, and they have cast Natural Storm. This is really important for them because they don't want, and we can, you remember, we can have a Queen of Air appear at any time. So you always have to be prepared for Mass Flight Worms, and you don't want these worms jumping on your mages. Now, look how buffed all these guys are. All these fire elementals, living fire is getting cast. And this is a very gym efficient way, especially as part of a high power communion, to make a lot of elementals. And these guys are getting buffed to the 9s right now. There goes Fog Warriors. He's got Astral Healing, it looks like he cast as well. Weapons of Sharpness on a lot of these guys. Yeah, Army of Gold's also hit as well. These guys are just tough as fucking nails right now. That was, I'm pretty sure, Undead Mastery. Yeah. So he's stolen a fair number of our Undead, but mostly just like Long Dead, because the worms are pretty resistant. So that was one Undead Mastery. And we've also got an enormous Flame Eruption coming in here. This also is going to serve to kind of keep my guys from closing, and that's what they want. They don't want my guys up close with them. They want their summons to get out here. They want to be hitting these guys with spells. He's also got Life After Death up, so guys which do get hit are going to be fine. He's got Anti-Magic up, so these guys have a tremendous amount of MR. They got Summon Their Bless as well. They've got the Farcaster ability. Look at all the buffs on this just casual mage. He's also doing some Enslaved Mind Spam. This is going to be good too. It is another way to dodge Blood Vengeance. Arc might have swung this because it's going to help get rid of Mist Form, which is going to be a major problem for us. All these elementals making it to the front. Do these elementals have frost? Yeah, okay. Man, these elementals are ethereal. Check. And they have Mist Form. How are we supposed to hurt these guys? We're doing 1 damage a quarter of the time. It's not going to happen. It's times like this when you really do wish you had some magic weapons. The only damage output from our worms now is Blood Vengeance. Utter fucking destruction. Okay, so here's my thoughts after looking at this. I'll be interested in what you guys think. I think if we had Army of Gold, these guys would have held up a lot longer in the front line. Because they're getting destroyed by the evocations, but they're also getting destroyed by the troops. And the fire elementals and stuff he summoned would do like no damage. It would have been a much longer battle. We might have gotten to the point where these guys, even with the relief, start to fatigue out. And the Arc would also help to pop. I think it's going to pop Mist Form on some of these guys too. I think it would have been a much closer battle if our Tart didn't get sent home. But I think we would have lost it. And if we didn't have the Ring of Returning on him, then I think the Tart probably would have died and we would have lost the artifact. And the Tart. So the only thing I could have done, I think, not the only thing, but given the type of thing I was trying to roll out, what I could have done is, like I said, if I put enough fire resistance gear, so I could have kept the Ring of Returning on the Tart and not been worried about Flames from the Sky sending him home, then it would have been good. Then we would be in the money. Because basically I would have still lost this, I think, but I would have inflicted it would have been a great cost to Erythia. And here we just get absolutely fucking crushed. We get absolutely stomped. And here's like a Tomb King, paralyzed, so basically dead. He's stealing all my fucking worms with his enslaved mind communion. It's embarrassing and horrible. And these, I don't want Erythia to have these. These worms are good. It's funny, in Discord, like in a couple turns, I think he sends me a message. He's like, dude, these worms are my best troops. You asshole. Holy shit. We lose all our Sauramancers. We lose our Soulless. Somehow our Team King escaped. I don't even know how the fuck that's possible. It might have been different RNG. He lost 42 Ducados. Seems horrible. But they all survived, basically. Most all of them survived as a Soulless. So, between the Mystics and the Ducados, he did lose 70. That is a lot. But he got 55 of them back. Right? And there's some Pearl Mages and other things mixed in here, too. But he only really lost 25 mages to kill all this. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. In terms of troops, he lost garbage, right? He lost some wolves, but traded them in for worms. Nice. He got some soulless back from all the other garbage he lost, like some hoplites and fangolites, and none of these things matter. He might be a little sad about losing 2 draconians, and might be a little sad about losing the forest trolls, but they cost upkeep, so he's probably not that sad about that. Didn't lose a cube, lost 1 living statue. He stole one of my fucking Sauramancers. He lost the Sylphs. That's rough. Just a huge Erythia win. A huge Erythia win. This also has the upside that he now has 55 upkeep free Soulless. These are going to be great if somebody casts Astral Corruption. I think ideally you want to not use these in combat. I think there probably are even things he could have done to do better. Like, I don't know how much... Let's see how much Liquefy got cast here. I think Liquefy is actually the real secret sauce. And I think with Farcaster he can probably do it. Especially Farcaster in a Water Lens, he could spam it. I see Astral Fires a lot. There's some Liquefy. I see 1 Liquefy right here. Here's another Liquefy. Here's another. So there's some. Yeah, there's a fair amount. Petrify is also good. Another Liquefy. Another Liquefy. Okay. We're now clearly off script, too. It's turn 8. So the AI likes casting it off script. I think it happened more off script. I think he could have done more Liquefy on script. And it's possible he actually killed some of his mages while they were on script casting. Because he's not going to kill them from Blood Vengeance while they're casting Liquefy. It's stuff like Astral Fires, which is going to happen. Where it's going to happen. Now, this guy can't do Liquefy, so that's why he's not casting it. So it could also be the case that the people who have died and turned into like Soulless or whatever, those might be the ones that are incapable of casting Liquefy, which are also sort of, for this matchup at least, the low value ones. Right? So it's possible that all his high value mages, or most of his high value mages, survived, unchanged. This all is important. It's also very possible that we burnt out his communion. And that's the other thing I kind of want to see, which I don't actually remember if we did. Let's see if we can find a slave here. Okay, so this first guy's a slave. Perfect. Oh my god, look at the paths on this. Jesus Christ. What the hell? I mean, what the actual hell? Light of the Northern Star. That's this guy right now. Okay. Okay, so it's round 5. At round 5, he's at 31 fatigue. If we look at the Master, by the way, it's 53 slaves. Which is a lot. But you can't have big communions and not have them burn out eventually. It just is a... I say it's a law of nature. He has relief up. He's at... I mean, the reinvigoration is probably intense. Yeah, it's 4 plus relief. But... how is... oh, he probably did... he probably did reinvigoration, which reset it at round 5. Round 12? 35 fatigue. Wow. I don't think he burned out the communion, because I don't think this goes to round 20. Yeah, it's over. Round 20. But this guy's at 157. So these guys that died weren't them... I don't think it was the slaves. This is a slave that died. So let's take a look here at some of these soulless here. Slave, 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 slave. Okay, so he did burn out the communion. There's no way the soulless that I can think of, especially like we weren't doing like nukes or things which are going to hit the back line. It looks like... okay, so this is a weird thing that didn't occur to me earlier, but it's important. Erythia communions are not bad. Are very kind of weird. Like the paths that you get on your Ducados or your Mystics or whoever are going to be your slave, they may not line up with the Master. So like this guy has only 2 paths, Fire and Astral. So they're going to be very likely to get... you know, a lot of fatigue from things that are off path. Same with this, right? And I'm by no means an Erythia expert, right? But basically what I think it is if we look at the slaves, like the slave I had been looking at was this guy, and who has some in every path, right? And so he's been boosted with like Power of the Spheres and other things, but he's fine. He didn't fatigue out, but this is not a representative sample. This is why statistics and stuff are important, at least when done properly. This guy's not a representative sample of all the slaves, right? So when I was like, oh, he definitely didn't fatigue out the communion, well, he definitely did, right? So I was definitely wrong. And the reason this guy didn't fatigue out or even get really close is because he had all the paths. So he was never getting the off-path penalty for fatigue. So that just shows you how important it is. Most of the Erythian mages, it looks like were converted... like, it looks like most of them that converted were actually communion slaves. So it wasn't even blood vengeance blowing these guys up. It was their own fucking communion, right? So when it's like the losses he had, those were self-inflicted mostly. Those were not even me. That wasn't even my blood vengeance working. Now, some of them certainly were, but most of them, I'm almost certain now, were not. Most of them... greater than 50%, I'm pretty sure, we can go check again, but I'm pretty sure most of the people who got converted here are communion slaves. Now, I think I was also filtered for one, or not filtered, I wasn't clicking on ones that were dead. The ones which are dead are much more likely to not be communion slaves, because the communion would have had to have gone on, and we're not really going to see, because I think they lose the buff. But it's far more likely, like and we can't even see the spells that they cast. But, we don't see any of their spells? Weird. Anyway, we'll stop on this, but it's important to know that these losses, which seemed intense from the mage perspective, I don't know how much they could be min-maxed, but I think what you want to try to do with Erythia is maybe try to put the large path variety mages on the bottom, or you're just okay putting other people as communion slaves and accepting they get converted. Getting it may be Erythia wants some of these guys to get converted. With the possibility of Ulm doing astral corruption at any time. It also frees up upkeep. Anyway, this was just such a good battle for Erythia, and this is the kind of battle, like, okay, are we going to be able to replace this army? Yes. Are we going to be able to replace this army in this sphere? Yes. Are we likely to just go and lose a major fort from this? Well, probably not. Am I going to be able to attack over here this turn? No. What are all my guys doing? We're retreating. Or holding the ground and just like we're not attacking. There's no aggressive arrows over here. We got the shit slapped out of us. We can't, while we can afford to take losses like this, we cannot afford to take losses like this turn after turn. Right? So now from Erythia's perspective, for them to push the advantage, they kind of need more of these mages. I don't think they really want to use all the Soulless here. I would keep the soul. I like having the Soulless as like free mages. And they're pretty bad in combat. So I would be inclined to not use the Soulless. So he needs to rally up, to wrangle up, 50 more mages. That's a lot. I can't wrangle up 50 mages if I had to. So he might not feel that after that victory he can go on the offense. And he might have lost too much, actually, mostly from the communion fatiguing out, to really go on the offense. But what Erythia needs to do, or what all the players need to do, is they need to get armies exactly like this that can just slap me and go on the offense. Because if I am forced to take fights by them sitting on top of my forts, like turn after turn after turn, that's how I'll lose. Because I can't afford to take this fight this often. Now, that being said, we do have things right here, which if Erythia ever gets cocky and thinks they're going to come sit on our fort, we'll kill them. Because we'll just turn one, kill every single troop in their army. But I don't want to deploy that offensively. That's like a defensive measure. And it's also really expensive. I could get... Deploying all these things offensively is really hard. I'll just put it that way. Without me losing all the gear, which is expensive. So that's why we're keeping it as a defensive countermeasure. But yeah, that was just so awesome. I mean, clap for Erythia. Meanwhile, we have some other big battles. We are trying to storm here. And Arco has just kind of a motley crew inside. But they summon a bunch of elementals. And this is one of our more high medium commitment armies, but they've also got Howl up, which is nice for them. We're trying to push through, but we're kind of getting blown up. I think their god is here too. I think this is their god. Yeah, this is the mother of monsters converted into a white mage. And so she's got she's got what? Wailing Winds up? No? What does she cast? Undead Mastery. Shit. I think she's going to do it again in a second. Howl is actually causing problems for our Mage Corps a little bit. There was another Undead Mastery. And there's just a ton of elementals. You can see we really have trouble getting through elementals. And then they're fatigued out, but they, the white mage isn't fatigued out, so their god's spamming chaff, which is helping to fill up the gate. And we just can't break through. We can't break through the gate. Now, we could have done mass flight or something. That would have been clutch. But yeah, and then we get HP routed. Not a great turn for late age Ctis, and a pretty good hold for Arco. Now he did, this was at great cost. He had to spend a bunch of gems on the elementals, and You know, he lost pretty much all his commanders that weren't his god. So yeah, pretty. I think there's different RNG too. I think in the actual battle, he lost more of the commanders. So this isn't a great trade, right? We lost also a Tomb King here. We lost one of our white mages. A lot of our mages escaped. The Ctis, I believe, died, but came back as a white mage. I think I had been twice borning most of them. Let's see. Yeah, this is her. So this is different though than the Erythia battle. This right here is exactly the kind of Pyrrhic victory I was okay with taking. Right? Like, we're just going to see what they're going to do. Okay, I got to see how he used his god. He did Undead Mastery spam. He did Elemental spam. You know, we can kind of see what he's doing. But this was still a fine trade. These are the kind of trades I can take all day. This is the kind of trade that, even though it's painful, even though I wish I won cleanly, I'm fine having. The Erythia battle was different. The Erythia battle was me getting stomped. So the difference too is we've got a big pile of stuff. We're going to move another big pile of stuff right back on the fort and do the same thing again. So I think we also couldn't bring the tart inside, if I recall. Yeah. I think it was crazy last turn, as they tend to be. So yeah, we're just going to redo it. And now the only thing that's inside is the god. We stormed this fort. But I hope this also gives you an idea of like ways to fight this build. Like, you can see clearly some things working. Like, there's a few things we've noticed like very clearly so far. One is that elementals are very good against a build like this. Now, if you're playing in Dominion 6 now, elementals are heavily nerfed in Dominion 6, so they're not going to trade nearly as well. Things like Fog Warriors is pretty good against this build, especially elementals with Fog Warriors. Though I don't remember if Fog Warriors works on Spirit Form in Dominion 6. Then the other thing is fort walls are our fucking nemesis. Right, here we managed to get through, but otherwise we hate them. Liquefy is amazing against this build. Liquefy is a great spell in general. People who say water sucks, Liquefy is one of the best spells in the game. So we've covered a fair number of things that are pretty good. The commander sniping is good if you can get it to work too. But we'll do a much deeper dive on like how to make things work. But I mean, basically what Erythia did. What Erythia did was sick. I think keeping the communion alive, which has to do, for them, honestly, it's more with like on or off path mages. So, if they could have sorted that out better, and maybe that's an impossible problem for them to sort, then they would have won this maybe with only like 20 mage casualties, like including soulless conversions. And then they could just keep this army marching, at which point I would have killed it with bone grinding. But that still would have been really cool. Yeah. I don't know. I think Arco basically can do all the same things Erythia did. They just need the right number of mages. Like, Erythia had 100 mages in this fight. So, and they also did more gems for elementals, and I think those are the things you have to do. I think you need about that many gems and elementals. They were doing living fire, living air, living water. Those are the things I think you want to do. Those big, high-end, high-research conjuration spells. Make a ton of elementals. Cast, like, time your casting of Army of Mists or Army of Gold with that, so you get it on the elementals if you can. Cast Liquefy. These are all things Arco can do. And I think both of them doing those things would give me immense amounts of attrition. The other thing is taking these forts potentially taking these battles inside forts can be very risky, because if I figure out a way to do Wailing Winds, which I'm trying to get more of, right now we can kind of only do it with our Harmonica Golem. But, you know, we can air empower people. We have a decent amount of air income. It looks like we're doing something fancy this turn. It's not often I clear out all of my gems. What the fuck am I doing? Where's our god? What are we doing? How have I spent literally every gem? We're casting Wish. It can't be just this. I know we're trying to spend all of our gems every turn, but I'm doing an exceptionally good job this turn. There's an empty global spot, too. There's a decent chance I'm putting up one of these globals. We'll see what it is next turn. I can't even remember what it might be. Yeah. We'll scan through these, make sure I didn't miss anything for the battles. This was the huge Erythia battle. A bunch of raiding. Ulm is attacking into Arco as well. We'll take a quick look at that before we leave this episode here. Yeah, so this was the storming of the kind of easy fort. This was the storming of the hard Arco fort. And then, yeah, we got 151 pearls from Nexus. 151. So we send, what, 76 to Ulm? Plus the death gems. So, yeah, that's our agreement going. And by the way, that's not a ton. I'm almost certain that the gems we're getting from Nexus are entirely Ulm in my spending. I think Arco and these guys have completely stopped spending pearls, which is great when we're fighting them. Like, if I fight you and you're not allowed to spend magical gems, like, yeah, okay, that's pretty good. But yeah, we picked up this fort, which has the Azure Academy. This also is sick. You can see we've queued up recruitment quickly here. We really want more quickening casters. So these are a super nice pickup for us. We are very excited to get that. We also have put this fort under siege. And what did we find here at this throne? It's the Throne of Knowledge, so you can get Lore Masters and Sages, which is nice. It has the Tower of the Deformer, which gives Alt 20 bonus. This is where Erythia and Arco have been doing their wish casting. The turn before, you'll have noted, if you go back and look, there were golems that were inside the fort. I think Cthulhu's in here too. But this is where the wish operations are happening. So Arco cannot afford to lose this. Arco will defend this at all costs. And we're going to storm here and probably lose again. I can't remember. But, yeah, we really honestly need mass flight. And they kind of need storm staffs. And if they have storm staffs, I don't know how we get these forts except for Wailing Winds. So we kind of have like a checklist of things we need to storm forts. And like I explained, there's a tier of of escalation we can do all the way to the point where we're like, you know, doing Firestorm on our own guys and, you know, Wailing Winds and things that are kind of hard for us to do. But we're also want to keep the pressure on. And we're still okay taking some losses, though we're probably going to take more than we want. Anyway, we're going to put more... we're putting more pressure over here to put this fort under siege. And we're storming this. For better or for worse, come what may. I think we know it's bad, but I think we just want to do it anyway. And we put this fort under siege as well. You can see Patala is winning the war here against Arco, advancing, taking stuff back. Let's go check the Ulm front. So Ulm has started war with Arco. And wait, where was the Ulm battle against Arco that we saw? The Nidian range. Okay, so they've attacked here. Okay, yeah, and I think when I was talking about like potential borders, I was like, you know, it'd be weird if kind of Ulm got this. I think we did give this to Ulm, right? Like this stuff, which is kind of in our line, if you will. This is all part of the Ulm spoils. So our Ulm was trying to raid through here and actually kind of got put down by some Arco thralls. But I think this is a new province changeover here. So anyway, Ulm is pushing, and they've got big piles of demons, fiends of darkness, and all sorts of things running amok in here. So Arco isn't just fighting me, they're also fighting Ulm, but I'm not just fighting him, I'm also fighting Erythia. Other interesting news is there's a significant army here in this Erythian throne. And importantly, our little raids here, we put this fort under siege, and this army that was... What I was hoping to do was to pop this fort and to lock this army inside this fort, maybe with like a surprise tart attack. I normally wouldn't risk a tart. There was like an army in this fort last turn. I normally wouldn't want to move a tart here by themselves because they could just get killed, right? So we're getting this tart out anyway. We're putting some other garbage here. But I did succeed in the objective of locking this fort down, which makes it much less risky to try to storm Golem. The problem is that he did move out with these guys at least, and I don't know if these guys are going to continue retreating, or I don't know if he's got enough mages inside Golem that these guys might ride out with the mages and try to take a fight. But this is as good of a time as we're going to get to try to storm Golem, because if there is an army in here, they're trapped. And these guys also, there's a road with these provinces too, so there's a chance that if we didn't have this lockdown, this army might be able to reinforce Golem as well. So we have a lot of initiative. They're going to have a lot of troop logistics problems, actually kind of getting all the things they need together to get the perfect fight. So we're going to roll the dice, even though so far we've been having a lot of really bad dice rolls. Well, just this turn, really. But our army graph, which I feel the need to show to you, has gone down. This is the first time we've seen the army graph go down in a while. And you might look at this and you might be like, holy shit, you lost all this stuff and that's all that happened to your army graph? And you'd be right. That's all that happened to our army graph. But the losses were more significant. I think if you just measure our loss in terms of tomb worms, it's kind of incomplete because we actually need gear and like converted sauromancers and stuff to put these armies together. And golems. And these are all things that end up kind of dying in these fights too. So this would make it look like, oh, they need to do this another 50 times. And they probably don't. They probably only need to do it like another 15 or 20 times. And we're going to be on our way to losing. So, yeah. Anyway. Certainly, these are the kind of losses we can easily recover from, but they're not the kind of losses we can continue to take turn after turn. The kind we had with Erythia. The kind we had with Arca, we can take turn after turn. So I think that's it. This, I think, has been... I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. I think this is one of the most fun episodes we've had in a while. It's a fun war. It's a justified coalition against me. Erythia has clearly thought a lot about the matchup and is trying very hard and with much success to fight. So that's really cool. And also, you know, we have a bunch of goodies we haven't deployed yet, and hopefully we'll start deploying some of them as the situation demands. So I hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. And until then, take care.